We want to share with you guys the realities of what our life is able to look like because we've questioned the norm. We run an online business together when the kids are sleeping, so during naps and nights, and we fit pretty much all of the work into a 2-day work week. And that sounds ridiculous because we're able to make 7 figures with working 2 days a week. We also feel like people, especially in America, have this distortion of like what the work life or what a work-life balance looks like.
Absolutely.
People think that they live in balance or in harmony if they work 8 to 5 and then spend an hour or 2 with their family at night, couple hours on the weekend, and then they get 2 weeks off for vacation every year. They would do that for 40 years, then they retire and die.
Hey everybody, welcome to the American Dream Revival podcast. My name's Doug. This is my wife, Hayley. For those of you guys that don't know us, we're husband-wife, entrepreneur duo, homeschooling parents of 4.
Do it all.
Yeah, it is there. I'm going to put that on
Too
the
many
business card,
things.
the whole line item there, right? My LinkedIn profile should look stacked right now with all the stuff that's going on. But anyways, if you don't know who we are, welcome to the podcast. If you know who we are, you're probably like, what is going on right now? Because this does not look like the YouTube channel that I subscribe to. There's a different brand. There's a different logo. There's lots of things that are going on. But yeah, basically this is our first podcast back with the new branding. We're excited to jump into it. And so Hayley, what happened with the branding? What's going on here?
So for the last couple of years, especially if you guys are watching this podcast and not listening to it on how do I even explain it? It used to be called Digital Income Family. And for the last couple of years, we posted specifically about how to make money online as someone on social media, not necessarily as an influencer, but as people that wanted to make semi-passive income through online courses, coaching programs, digital products, basically. Mm-hmm. And while we still do that, and that is how we make, I would say a large majority of our money, we help people do that. We were just feeling like, a lack or basically just like a disconnect with our content, because if you guys are influencers, whatever you want to call, I hate that word, but like people that create content on social media, you will know that whatever you create content on is who you become. Yeah. And it is also what, you're talking about all the time. Yep. And so talking so much about funnels and optimization and the sales process has just started to get stale. And I think with like the addition to the 4th child that we now have in our family, it's just becoming a lot. And so we felt a shift, honestly, ever since we turned 30 ourselves, to really care about what's happening in society, what our children are being presented with on social media and in society, and really just building like a strong family culture where you are responsible for your family to the best, I guess, highest degree that you can be, physically, mentally, spiritually. Yep. And so we're just trying to be better people, and we want to create content that really mimics the traditional, models the traditional American family. Yeah.
And basically there was like, it's kind of like this perfect moment kind of thing where 2 things happened at once, right? So like Hayley was saying, with creators, there's a point in every creator's career or journey where they're just like tired of talking about what they've been talking about. Like there needs to be some type of evolution that happens for the creator, right? And so that was happening at one point because we were having these values spurred within us. But then at the same time, we're seeing in society, there's like a similar need for that, right? Like social media is just, I'm going to put it lightly, on the fritz, I guess is how we would put it. Social media is wild right now. Our kids are being exposed to a lot of things, and we're trying to prevent as they're growing up. And so we were just like, you know what? I think now's the time for us to make the brand change, to go from just business to, like now Hayley said, talking about family, wealth, independence, and stuff about like the traditional old school American dream.
So today's podcast episode, we are so stoked to bring to you guys because we feel like it's one of the biggest issues we see people in America, but honestly kids throughout the entire world, depending on the country that you're from, facing. And that is basically families are being, we feel, divided. Okay. The kids nowadays, especially in America, are being grossly overscheduled, meaning that the kids have so many different activities, school activities, extracurriculars, that they don't spend enough time with their family, which is where we feel like the biggest potential for shaping a child's moral compass and their character. That's where it's built within the family unit. It's being built through social media or obviously through screens or through peers or through people other than the most important figures in their life, which are their parents. We also feel like people, especially in America, have this distortion of like what the work life or what a work-life balance looks like.
Absolutely.
People think that they live in balance or in harmony if they work 8 to 5 and then spend an hour or two with their family at night, a couple hours golfing on, just kidding, a couple hours on the weekend. And then they get 2 weeks off for vacation every year. They would do that for 40 years, then they retire and die. I know that's like kind of dramatic, but we just do not subscribe to that at all. And yeah, we're going to talk all about that today. And also this phrase that we've kind of coined ourselves. I don't think I've seen this anywhere else, but it's basically how we're able to live an integrated lifestyle. So we saw this traditional American life where the families all pulled apart, whatever you think of it nowadays. And we just did not want to do that. We thought, how can we do everything nearly exact opposite? So if you guys don't know who we are, we homeschool our kids. We have 4 of them. We have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, 2-year-old, and a 5-month-old as of tomorrow, I think. And we run an online business together when the kids are sleeping. So during naps and nights, and we fit pretty much all of the work into a 2-day work week. And that sounds ridiculous because we were able to make 7 figures with working 2 days a week. And it wasn't always like that. We have killed ourselves to get here. And we are straight up as raw as it gets, as truthful as it gets, because we don't paint this fairy tale for you guys for no reason. But we want to share with you guys the realities of what our life is able to look like because we've questioned the norm. And so that's what we're going to do in today's podcast.
Yeah, that is absolute heat. Wow. That's the way that.
But we have a challenge.
We do. Man, I almost blew it. That would have been rough.
I need water.
So we're going to be talking about the integrated life, right? And we're going to be talking about, what it looks like, how to get to it, the things that you need, the steps that you got to take. But there's only so much that you can do just kind of listening and then trying to figure things out on your own if you're serious about it, right? If you're serious about it, we actually have a 5-day challenge, a live 5-day challenge that's coming up that's going to walk you through every step of setting up your own integrated life. And we are going to be in there coaching people through the process. Now, if you're watching this and it's kind of later down the line, still sign up because you can get the replay for the challenge. You can still get all the worksheets. You can still get all the videos that are there. But I am extremely pumped to be able to walk people through this because doing a challenge means like we get to talk to people the whole time and we get to tell them, we get to answer their questions, we get to give them feedback. So if you want that, check it out, and the link is in the description below. Or if you're listening to this on like Apple Podcasts or something, there's going to be a link in the show notes or somewhere. You can click it. If you can't find it, DM us, American Dream Revival, and we will get you the link to the challenge. But yeah, I am super pumped. So where do we start with this? How do we get people on board with the integrated life? I feel like that's a thing, right? Like people need to want this integrated life. They need to be able to leave their work-life balance of having, a once a week spa treatment that you get in office, or you get the beer on the Fridays. This was my office. My office was, and I love the work-life balance topic because I was sold work-life balance, like to the nines, however that phrase goes. Like I was absolutely sold on that. But before we get into it, I guess we should talk a little bit about what that looks like, the integrated life.
Okay, so I already kind of touched on what our life looks like. And so in a nutshell, like we homeschool our kids, we work naps and nights, we take Fridays off, and we take a lot of days off. But like Fridays, we go out in nature. We talk about that a lot on our Instagram accounts, which if you're not following on there, we are posting a ton now, like never before. So we'll link that down below. And yeah, we go hiking like all throughout Southern California, which is where we live. And yeah, throughout the rest of the week, we educate our children. We bring them alongside us within our business so they know a lot of the inner workings of what it looks like to run an online business. We are a primarily screen-free family.
Yes.
I don't really lead with that to be cool because straight up, like we've watched a lot of Cinderella, a lot of like screens for the first couple years. But we talked about this recently on Instagram. And so yes, we're on a screen right now.
I know people are just like, how do you post if you don't look at a screen?
It's just like a 12-year-old.
I'm just like, I put on a blindfold, bro. Like,
anyways, we are about screens and technology. My husband's like grade A nerd. Okay,
I am. I've got
he doesn't like Macs. He's like the gamer type. Of, not that you game.
I've got like 6 keyboards. It's the whole deal.
Yeah. So we love screens, but we don't like it as a part of our family culture.
It's not. It shouldn't be a crutch. I'm not going to go off this tangent right now.
Yeah, we're not.
But anyways, okay.
But anyways,
so that's what it starts to look like, right? Like this is the idea of the integrated life.
Work less, live more with your family.
Yes. But so why should people want to do that? Why should people want the integrated life? And why should they want to spend every waking moment with their children?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you shouldn't. Just kidding. No, our kids are amazing. Like it gets rough every day though, around from 3 to 5. Like I have to plan something or else like it's going to go wild. But anyways, you guys know that with little kids. Why should you be interested in learning about this topic? Okay. So I want to just quickly rewind to how I even learned about it. So probably a decade ago when there was like the second wave of YouTubers, the vloggers, right? The daily vloggers. Okay. So these are people that would literally vlog their families every single day, right or wrong. This was the wave. And I was in college.
Isn't it crazy to think that this was a new thing?
I know.
Like this was a thing that
people
didn't
don't
exist?
actually do. Well, they're like going down to one, getting one a day now is
some
rough.
people still daily vlog. Like some people are still about
But like
that
good
life.
ones?
I don't know.
I feel like the good ones are like once a week. Anyways, I don't watch that.
Well, the OGs are down. Way down. Like
that's because you can't sustain that. Like, what is that? That Vlogmas? Is a rat race. Vlogmas. Okay, anyways, I can't with that. And if you guys are new, because we gained a lot of new followers on Instagram, I was an influencer for like a good
Vlogmas
8 years
was
there.
a thing. We were putting up fall decor in July.
It was
a whole thing,
that
man.
wreath, Doug. Anyways, so okay. 10 years ago, I was sitting in my finance class because I have a useless finance degree, which I don't know how I got. But anyways, and I hated it. So I was like watching YouTube like any other basic college sorority girl. And I was watching these vloggers. And that was like a window into another life. Okay. Because I was slaving away and I was like, I'm just going to get this degree, be in, college debt and get this job that I know I'm not going to like. I mean, I was just questioning everything because I saw this family and specifically this family because they had little kids. They were traveling the world doing cool things. Little did I know it's like freaking sponsors. Like now I know because we were influencers for a couple years there full time, Doug and I as a family. Till we obviously do business now. But yeah, so I saw this and I was like, I don't know how this is happening, but this is an integrated life. Obviously, it's not the life that we necessarily want anymore because we don't want to have to rely on brand deals to feed our family like we did for a couple years there.
But the intention was that you're with your kids.
Yes.
Whenever you want, at whatever schedule you want.
Working less.
Wherever you want, working less.
And there's no ceiling for your pay. I know. People are like, okay, Hayley, it's just a creator. Like it's called a content creator.
But back then it wasn't there was
but
no It wasn't like a term. You couldn't put it in an Instagram profile because Instagram didn't exist.
Yes.
Like wild.
But regardless of whatever it is, and you might roll your eyes because you don't want to do that, you can have an integrated life in whatever way you want.
Absolutely.
But, for us in our story, it does, associate yourselves with social media, to some degree, unless you're doing ads.
No, that was the path. Okay. Like that was the path that we found or that you kind of stumbled upon and that we ended up choosing.
But the point is like the whole, like getting a college degree and then working for 40 years and then retiring to live the life that you want while, working 8 to 5 and then this work-life balance thing that just didn't make sense. Like you got weekends off, then you got 2 weeks off a year. If you're lucky, you get a 10% pay raise. I can't with it. Like it's just not, obviously we're entrepreneurs. So like we don't want that life, So grateful for nurses and all the people that will come for me and doctors and all those people, but it's just not for us.
It ain't me, fam.
So if it's not for you, keep listening, I guess, or whatever. But yeah, so I saw that family and I didn't know what it meant to be a vlogger. I quickly learned that it wasn't for me, but I thought they can have that. So why can't I, And so I started questioning everything. And if you guys want to learn about our story and how we were full-time influencers, I'm not going to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
You can listen to the first episode in this podcast, which we'll link below. Maybe we'll put like our story.
Yeah, we'll put a bunch of them.
But we were like
there. Some of the
full-time
highlights.
YouTubers, lots of different. We've tried so many different online businesses. We've been working together for
over like a decade. Yeah,
like nearly a decade. And so we've always been striving for this life, and especially having 4 kids, we then started asking ourselves like, how can we work even less? The whole working smarter, not harder. Anyways.
Yeah, and so being able to like actually see that and see that it was possible back then, it was like Hayley stumbled upon something that she didn't know that was going to unlock like a whole wealth of options, right? But the thing is today you guys are all rolling your eyes because you're like, well, that's just a vlogger, that's just a content creator. But the thing is that you still don't know that there are other hidden options and other things that you can do in order to be able to live this integrated lifestyle. It's like there's multiple paths and there's multiple, you could set your own time and set your own hours, and there's so much that you can do to be able to make that happen. We want to be able to show and kind of like morph our kids with our daily actions. And part of our daily actions is being able to work around them. And I know people are going to think that's kind of weird to be able to like work around your kids and
Literally
because
around them,
literally like around them and doing while they're doing things, we're working, or we're kind of like separating things there. But we want to be able to bring them on because like a lot of times when you're growing up, you don't see what your parents are doing, right? It's like, oh, the kids don't need to see that, or the kids are, they're too young to understand what's going on. They don't need to know what I'm doing. They don't need to know what I'm working on, or things like that, right? And what it does is it kind of creates this family divide to where it's like you don't know everything. As a child, you don't know everything about your parents, right? And then,
which is okay sometimes.
It is okay sometimes, and there's some needs for that. Some people work very gnarly jobs, and like they probably shouldn't be telling their kids everything that they're doing. But at the same time, in my opinion, it can create a layer of a disconnect. So it's like if I don't see what my dad's doing all the time, I may not want to go to him all the time with all the stuff that I have because I'm not allowed in on a section of his life that's there or something like that, right? We don't want that with our kids. We want our kids to be able to know what we're doing. We want them to see how hardworking we are. We want them to know what we're, like what the point is of what we're doing and that action that we're taking that day, because we want there to be like no wall. Right. I mean, yeah, some things where we have a private life. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm saying is that I don't want there to be a wall to where they feel uncomfortable thinking like, oh, dad has work or like mom has work and I can't talk about these things or something.
And so there's that, because obviously like when people ask me, what did your dad do? What does your dad do, Hayley? When I don't know. He does some type of business thing. He wears a suit. I don't know. And so nothing's wrong with that necessarily. But like nowadays, obviously we are on social media. It's easy for us to bring our kids in. It's not as easy to do that if you're a firefighter, obviously. But another big reason why we wanted to really bring our kids in, work around them, without like obviously neglecting them. Nothing is like that because we work 2 days a week. So obviously no, our whole life's about our kids. But is really when we started homeschooling. So our eldest is 7 and we only homeschooled since she was really like 5.5-ish here and there, really like a year full bore. And I realized after not being homeschooled myself, neither of us were regular public school kids. I went private school for a little bit there. Normal. That homeschooling's just living life with your kids and teaching them everything that is going on in your life. I mean, you got to do math, reading, and writing. But beyond that, it's like, okay, what are we going to learn today? Like whatever the heck you want. We don't we don't do school at home necessarily. We don't like mimic the public school
that's
system.
Not what homeschool is. A lot of people think that's what homeschool is. It's like a school at home.
I thought it was too with a desk with like little pencils and no, it's honestly
my little, like cage underneath, you know what I'm saying, to hold my books and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
man, the gum under there. Anyways. But yeah, so like once I started really learning after meeting homeschool families, larger families, women that are older than me, and learning through their mistakes, it's actually just whatever the heck we want it to be. So how do we want to raise kids? We want to raise kids in a way that basically introduces them to what the world is going to look like, which is technology based, which is not necessarily looking at screens, but like making money online. Okay. And so that's another reason why we wanted to really, live our life alongside our kids. It's so that we can teach them math and writing, but we can also teach them about an ad. Okay. We can also film the ad next to them. We can also mess up. And our 5-year-old and our 7-year-old are like, wow, like mom and dad, they've been at this for a while. And obviously we're not neglecting our kids at all. So no one say that, because that's not the truth. But like they have failed so many times and we get to witness them failing, and we tell them, hey guys, like we've spent, now they have no idea how, like what $1 is, right? Because they're 5 and 7, but one day they're going to get it. And so when we say we spent, $50,000 on ads and they all burned, which has happened before, throw it in a dumpster fire, and we try to compose ourselves, as money's abundant, they can go through that experience with us if we can control our emotions, obviously, because it's hard being entrepreneurs. And so we just didn't want to be this entrepreneurial family that like had all this stress and like, didn't let our kids in, because it is stressful. Even if you guys see a picture perfect family on social media, the podcast is here to show that life is real, And so anyways, we're going on long tangents here, but we really the point is we bring our kids into most everything we do. Because we want to teach them.
That's the point of being integrated is bringing them into like the everyday process and bringing them into the business process, bringing them into the life process, being around them all the time. Another thing though with the integrated life kind of having to do with that, bringing them in the process also means pulling them out of other things that is like the
Yes.
societal norm.
Thank you for that. Because
Right?
it just, I
Like,
really made it sound like horrific.
yeah.
Like mom and dad. Yeah, no.
So listen,
Yeah.
we're not sitting there like, I'm not trying to go through the books with my daughter, okay, talking to her about all the money we spent
Like
on
taxes?
the $100,000 that we spent on courses and mentoring
Yeah.
And all this stuff. I'm not trying to drill
It's
her
not
with
all that, yeah.
It's not just that. It's more like showing work ethic, right?
Thank
but
gosh
at the
I'm not doing
same
this for
time,
myself.
but at the same time, we are removing her and removing them from outside factors and unknown
Influences,
things and
yeah.
unknown influences that are out there, right? Like, I'm not trying to be political here, but there's a lot of stuff I don't like in the public school system right now,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of topics that are being talked about that kids shouldn't be talked about. There's a lot of books in the library that shouldn't be in the library, in my opinion.
Every third book
right?
is something, I swear.
And so those are things that we can now control. So part of the integrated life is not just to show them the cool things, but it's also to maintain innocence in a way of things that they don't necessarily need to know about, in my opinion. And so that's part of it. Like a huge reason for the integrated life and that you guys might want is if you feel the same way about protecting your children, about protecting the future generations, and about being able to kind of be like, shield you from certain things, then an integrated life may be a thing that you want to look at, because you can now like purposely step with them in everything that they do in life for a reason. Like, there's like a purpose behind everything that we're doing. We're not just letting some outside factor do what they will with the kids.
Some random Karen teacher.
Yeah, so, some kind of teacher that's out there. It could be a friend. I'm going to put in air quotes out there. It could literally be a passing by of somebody like in a hallway.
Or a screen.
It could be a screen. It could be so many little things. Like when I was a kid and I was out there in like middle school, I was already seeing kids fight. I was already seeing,
Doug
things
grew up
that
in
don't need to be talked
a
about.
sus place.
It was, it was pretty sus. Yes, it was pretty wild. But
anyways, we want to now transition. I'm guessing.
Go ahead. Yeah, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. I just started looking off into like the distance, 1,000-yard stare.
We don't need to hear about Doug's
flashbacks.
It was raw. So now we're going to talk about how you can actually make this possible. So we are not daft in the fact that we know that not all of you guys run your own business like us. Obviously, you don't make money from social media. You don't make passive income yet. You might be a nurse or a teacher, or I don't even know, a stay-at-home mom, and your husband works crazy long hours. Like, we have not done that necessarily, but we've done some combination of the things that I just mentioned, and we've lived lives like this growing up. And so we know that it's not going to be, in the way that we're presenting it to you guys on a silver platter. We know it's taken blood, sweat, and tears, which is going to be the next episode, is how to actually get there through, making semi-passive income through an online business. So that's our next episode. In detail, we're going to talk about how to do that and how we've done that. But for right now, there's different ways. I think it's really just like a philosophy, number one, on how you think. Some ways that we do this that just sparked my like mind or whatever, so this is the way I was raised. I had an extremely integrated life with my parents, and I love the relationship that I have with them. My parents would treat me like I was a little adult, and I think it seriously helped me like surpass a lot of my peers, even if I wasn't smart, quote unquote, right? I don't speak very well. Sometimes I tell Doug I'm illiterate. I say too many likes, too many ums. None of that matters. I'm an extreme introvert. I only talk to the camera. I don't know, not good in crowds, like whatever. I have all these issues that a lot of you guys might think that you have too. Like label yourself as not good at tech. I'm not good at tech. He's the first person to tell anyone that I'm terrible with any of that. But I think because my dad instilled this confidence of like, knowing about what was going on in the world with world events and what he was facing with his entrepreneurial endeavors, I feel like it shaped me to just be better. So like, for instance, today, a part of our homeschool curriculum, it's just life learning. Even if your kids are in school, it doesn't matter. We're reading a book called Do the Work. It's actually like right there. And it's a book about the resistance. Doug wasn't here for this. He doesn't know what the heck I'm schooling the kids on.
I came out and she was watching this YouTube video. It was like the debate. There was a debate that Haley was watching.
I had to show them what like a debate looks like. Yeah, they're only 5 and 7. So anyways,
I walk out.
This is a healthy way to... I had to show them through a screen. Yes. A healthy way to, like talk it out. But anyways, so we're reading this really short read. It's for adults, but that doesn't matter. So it's called Do the Work. And it's about how the enemy is your mind. Doug's already like killed me now because I'm like on one like all the time.
She's ready to go. Yeah. All the time.
But like, it's so good. And I want people to know, like, this is something that I believe you should talk about with your kids, because the thing that's going to mess you up in doing the monkey bars or fighting off that bully at school, hopefully not. But, you know, I had all these experiences, literally that one in school. So if your kids are in school, I'm not saying that's happening, but you don't know what's happening sometimes. You have to prepare them and equip their mind, right? You have to fight off. The number one thing that's going to mess you up is your own mind. So it's like called the resistance in the book. And anyways, we talk about how your mind is the single best thing that can aid you in success and the number one thing that can aid you in failure. And so that's just, and then I give her personal anecdotes as to how this is happening right now with me in my own business, how I think that I don't have enough time, but that's probably just the resistance, quote unquote. And you might think this is all woo woo. It's not. We're like religious people, seriously, but it's psychology, you know? And so it's one of the many ways, other than starting like a cookie business and like having her learn marketing on her own.
Show and like have her go to do things. Yeah. We do talk a lot about life lessons, but we also talk about like things that we're learning. Like, hey, like Annabelle, you know, our oldest is always asking us about people's names of like books that we're reading and like things that she hears, because we're always talking about it around them. And so, business stuff that's happening. And so, you know, a step in towards that integrated life, like Hayley was saying, that example is just opening up a little bit to them.
Something I think is so cool too is on one of our coaching calls, we have a student and he has a bunch of girls. I think they're all girls. Yeah. A bunch of little girls, and his daughter's on a coaching call.
Yeah.
And the calls get raw. Okay. This girl is 12.
Yeah.
She's got this bunny YouTube channel, which we agreed to like help her grow. I give her like advice on thumbnails.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. But she's on the calls and she asks very good questions. She's only 12 years old. And I'm like, when he asked, can my daughter join the call? Immediately, yes. Like, yes.
Absolutely. This is not one of those things where it's like separate and divide the children from the business call that's happening. No. Like literally get them on here and talk about them.
And we're the people that like sit with our kids at church.
Yes.
So like we're those people.
Yeah. That's a whole nother thing. It's like not dividing that whole section, but we had to talk to our other students and be like, by the way, keep it down. Like,
quit cursing.
Quit cursing.
But like,
the
calls get raw. Now we're not talking about anything inappropriate, obviously, but sometimes the people will cry.
Yes.
Like, you know, because they want this so bad that, you know, their mind, their resistance literally is messing them up. So the girl is there and she learns through adult experiences.
Yes.
You know, and we're all aware if she's there. So nothing's like inappropriate.
And I think that's such a cool thing. And I would love to be able to talk about like kids safe adult experiences. Yeah. You know, like that would be such a cool kind of like way to kind of break into things that's there. But having her on there and then seeing like there's other kids that are online that run like their own businesses and that do a bunch of things. It's very inspiring. Yeah. And in my opinion, it's a great way to integrate everything.
Yeah. But anyways, as far as like how we do that is through our online business. And so we obviously have the time, not because we're magically blessed or privileged at all. We've gone through immense lows and high highs.
People would debate the privilege that's there.
It's a buzzword in forever.
It is, but
recently.
No, we had to work super hard to get to this point because we knew that we wanted some type of specific lifestyle.
But in our next podcast, I'm trying to lead us there because this one's so long, but in our next podcast, we're going to talk about exactly how we did that and how we would encourage you guys to do that in 2024. But that's pretty much everything that we wanted to talk about. Join our challenge below. If you guys are watching this like before it's live, it's next week. And then if this is a replay, then grab the replay and you'll get so much value. But thank you guys so much.
Yeah, we're pumped. And then we will see you guys in the next one.
Yeah. Bye guys.